Welcome to Dukascopy TV. Brazil has voted to keep Dilma Rousseff for a second term, a decision that many business owners are not too happy about. To explain what this will now mean for the economy is Miguel Sanchez-Martinez, Research Fellow at NIESR. Miguel, what does a second term for Dilma Rousseff mean for the future?
Well, the fall of the Ibovespa, which is the main stock market index in Brazil, in the days prior to the re-election of incumbent President Dilma, suggests that the markets had already anticipated the outcome shortly before the elections, even if the polls had pointed before to a very tight battle between the two runner-ups. So this decline in the stock market index indicates that the final outcome was not precisely welcomed by the private sector, which viewed Mr. Neves as the alternative political option that would have been determined to carry out the deep structural changes that Brazil badly needs. The re-election of Dilma Rousseff is, on the contrary, regarded as the continuation of the current situation of stagflation. However, the statements by the government that were made straight after the presidential election promise increased efforts to improve the fiscal position, contain inflation, and implement reforms to restore growth. Here at NIESR, we at the moment are hopeful that these promises will be brought to fruition, even though we still predict a somewhat gloomy scenario over the medium term, with growth of only about 1% in 2015 due to the size and the nature of the reforms that are needed.
As car sales drop again, is this indicative of the Brazilian economy?
Indeed, this high-frequency indicator is a good proxy for the health of domestic demand in the country. However, according to the figures published by the central bank, once purely seasonal movements are factored out, vehicle sales actually increased slightly from July to September, even though they have decreased quite substantially since the beginning of the year. However, in this case, other indicators seem to, such as exchange rates, seem to come in more handy, given Brazil's need to tame inflation at the moment. In this sense, although the real did gain some of the lost territory against the dollar on the 30th of October, which was the day right after the announcement by the central bank to raise interest rates, this change proved to be very short-lived, given that the exchange rate has deteriorated ever since and has recently returned to around 2.5 reals per dollar, to the highest levels registered in 2014. And a similar story applies for the Ibovespa index. Even though it recovered after the uncertainty surrounding the election's outcome dissipated, it came back on October the 31st to the downward trend it has been following throughout the year. Finally,
do you think that there will be any changes in the short term?
Well, we already saw the central bank's decision to raise its benchmark interest rate to 11.25% last week. This decision was made in the context of a declining stock market index as well as rapidly depreciating currency. Even though the Monetary Policy Committee did justify this rate hike based on the worsening of the balance of risks for inflation, in our view, it also was meant to signal the determination by the central bank to maintain an independent stance in its monetary policy decisions. This effectively delivers the message that the central bank intends to adopt an orthodox stance by focusing only in fighting against inflation and leaving the task of lifting real activity to fiscal policy and economic reforms that are to be implemented by the government. So here at NIESR, we are currently forecasting an overall growth rate of just above 0% this year, very low growth rate. Therefore, to answer your question, we do not expect any potential changes that may happen in the months to come to alter the short-term economic outlook for the country.
Thanks, Miguel. That's all we have time for today. Keep watching Dukascopy TV for more news on the market. Goodbye.